All right, I can officially do this because this is my car. I'm taking this tape off. Let's go. Maybe I'm gonna probably wish I kept the tape on, aren't I? And this door doesn't close. Well, this part of the windowsill is super nice and clean, so we're off to a good start. Oh, come on, let's just go. Let's go with this already. All right. The moment of truth. Did I really mess up, or did I get a time capsule?
Buying a saltwater flood car sight unseen is a great thrill. This is the closest thing you can get around here to Vegas, except at the very least you'll go home with the life-size Hot Wheels version of the car you set out to get for a bargain. In my case, it's this 1991 Corvette ZR1, the king of the hill and the fastest production car of its time. These cars sell for really good money still. The cheapest working ones are well over $20,000, and there were a few other C4 ZR1s that sold from this batch of floods, and they all went for over $13,000. But this one right here only cost me $8,200. But with the steep discount comes a pretty steep liability, which includes a branded title, no odometer reading, no service history, and as I'm about to find out, this one didn't come with any keys either.
I gotta tell you, the carpets up here feel great. I mean, it doesn't smell too terribly bad in here. Where are the keys, guys? Did I not get a set of keys with this car? That would be a tragedy. So far, it is 90s Chevrolet, and there is not a lot of signs of water or mold or anything. So far, we're really, really good, but we got to get over there. We got to pop the hood. Worn out weather stripping here, so it is not a perfect example, especially considering it was in a flood. Yep, there it goes. All right, we got the hood popped. I've yet to see a set of keys still. Let's look in here. Nope. Oh, there's the engine. That is a big difference between a regular C4 and a C4 ZR1. Let's see what we got. Ooh, not good. See how high the oil made it up the dipstick? And in certain areas it looks pretty darn milky, like right there. That means that there's water in that crankcase, and that water has been sitting quite some time. We're gonna go ahead, we'll stick this dipstick back in, and we'll pretend like this never happened. Thanks a whole lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. No, I'm kidding. Whether I like it or not, this is my car. I've got a truck and a trailer. I'm bringing it home. I've been looking for one for ages, but they are so expensive. My fingers are crossed that we can get some life back into this. I mean, it is a Chevrolet engine, kind of. Really, it's a European Lotus engine, but this is a Chevrolet, all right? We're not gonna write it off completely yet. The oil is not all milk, so. It's really funny that these two are parked next to each other. And I know that you are really unimpressed by this Corvette, but what if I told you that this has very close power figures to this car, and there's a 10-year difference. This is a 1991, that's a 2001 model year. This one has like 375 horsepower, and they rated these from the factory anywhere between like 390 and 400. So literally a few horsepower difference. And in the later model years, they bumped this up to 405 or something like that. So virtually identical horsepower figures, 10-year difference, and, well, massive price difference between the two as well. The good news is this was a relatively light gamble, and there's a lot of parts on this car that are very unique to the ZR1. I'm not writing it off yet. This is still an American car. It is old. It does have a lot of kind of weird electronics on it, but we're going to dig into it and we're going to see exactly what's wrong. And my fingers are crossed, we're going to have a running ZR1. If that engine isn't locked up, then we're definitely not going to have a running ZR1.
Now, as you can tell, my emotions were a bit scattered at this point. In hindsight, I think I was pretty shocked to see so much water on the dipstick, considering the auction drew a fairly low water line on the car. This is going to be a major hurdle, and we're just in the beginning of figuring this car out. Let's still give it a go and see how far we can get without dumping any large amounts of cash into this Corvette. You already know I try and save money every step of the way on these projects, and that starts at the very beginning, even before I get the car. On the way to pick them up, I pop open the Upside app and claim cash back back before I hop on the highway. It seems gas prices are back on their way up, and there's no great way to feel about this, but Upside helps alleviate the pressure a bit by offering cash back during petrol pumps with little legwork. Just find the nearest location, check in, fill up, and that's it. In a few days, your cash back will automatically be dropped into your account. And for the backseat drivers out there, Upside isn't just for fuel. You can also earn cash back at grocery stores and restaurants, and around me there is so much variety. Everything from little niche cantinas to nationwide favorites like Culver's. And when it's time to cash out your cash back, they don't pay you in some sort of chicken scratch. This is real tangible cash straight to your bank account or PayPal. You can also redeem it for legit gift cards at places like Amazon or Walmart. All you got to do is hit my link in the description box, download the free Upside app, and make sure you use promo code Samcrac during sign up. That's going to get you 25 cents a gallon back on your first fuel fill up with Upside. Again, hit that link in the description box. Make sure you use promo code Samcrac during sign up. Start earning some of that sweet cash back today with Upside. There we go. If you just push it all the way up, it'll lock. See right there? That's it.
I've seen that before in another car.
Look, your shirt says Salt Life. That's the life that this lived. What do you think about that?
It looks really muddy.
Muddy? Well, that's oil with a little bit of water, you know? But there's oil there. You're seeing oil, yeah?
It looks like someone tried starting it. They blended.
Did they?
Yeah, they made a little milkshake.
Oh, come on. Are you sure? I thought it looked like they were separate. Did you really see a milkshake? Now, I looked down in the hole before I went and put the spark plug socket in there, and it was dry. So like on the Viper, there was water all the way up basically to the top portion of the engine. Before he took the spark plugs out, there was water in the holes. I mean, that was all bad news. Ooh. What's around here doesn't look good. Our spark plug. What do you think? I mean, you're a professional. Does it just look like a used spark plug to you?
It looks wet.
It does look wet. To get a good look at the inside of the cylinders, we went ahead and broke out our scope camera, which is this tiny little camera at the end of a probe here. Fits right into the spark plug holes, and it even has cameras on the side. So we'll be able to get a 360 look at the inside of the cylinders and make sure we don't have any corrosion or anything that basically would lead to the demise of this engine right off the bat. Oh, I think you hit water.
Really?
Yeah, look. Hold on. Oh, no, you didn't get in. Oh. What is that? That's oil? Look what happened. Do you see what happened? That isn't mixed with water. You see what happened?
Yeah.
The water pushed the oil upward. Yeah?
Yeah, because the water is...
Do that again.
Denser.
Let's get in. So as the probe goes in... Wow, that would definitely hydrolock if we were to try and start it. Look at that.
That means there's a lot of water in the drain pan.
There's a bunch of water in the drain pan, but it pushed oil upward. All we've seen so far is the first cylinder. Clearly there's a good bit of oil in there, but that's, again, not half bad because we don't have any intermix. We don't have oil mixed with water, which means someone tried to start it. So clearly there's water probably in the lower half of the engine that pushed that oil upward. And the second Mike and I both saw that, we came up with the same conclusion. We both go, wait a minute. When this car was up in the air, when the loader was bringing it on the trailer, and when Mike just jacked it up, we both noticed the pan was seeping a bit of oil. It's a bit crusty around there. So the fact that the pan isn't perfectly sealed likely means that standing water sat there for a good while and slowly made its way into the pan. Does that make sense to you, or did we just make that up out of thin air? I think it makes sense to me.
The physics makes sense to me.
Because if you look at the water line right here, like it being that low doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Usually the water has to get darn high to start making its way into the engine. I don't know. Either way, we got to do two things right now. We got to drain the pan as soon as possible and pull the rest of our plugs and get that oil out of the cylinder. We got the car a little bit higher and you can see exactly what we're talking about. You see the drain pan? It's all grimy, so that's been seeping for a while. Our drain plug is right there. Let's see how much water comes out of this thing. Oh, there's the water. Actually, Mike, yeah, let the water come out. Leave it for a second. Because in case there's a ton of water...
I don't know if the drain plug's out of the hole, though.
All right, let it go. Oh, man.
Wow, there's so much water in there. Oh, I see a little bit of oil. It's really cool. Oh,
Our oil catch pan was getting very full very quick, and it was sitting on our jack at an angle. Mike put the camera down so he could push the pan flat, where it filled completely to the brim. This is a 20-quart pan, and this car's oil capacity is around 9 quarts when full, so there's more salt water in here than oil. Next, we got to pump the oil out of the cylinders so we can try and get a clear look with our scope.
So I just got this little straw here, run into our siphon pump, which is hooked up to a battery down there. I've got a little oil drain bucket here. Let's see how much oil comes out of the cylinder. Oh, look at that. That's not good. And the last cylinder, well, that one looked the grossest of the bunch. You could see where we just siphoned out what looks like a oil-water mix out of there. The oil that came out of most of the cylinders was actually really nice. Looked like straight motor oil. So really, it's the first cylinder closest to the front on the passenger bank and the one all the way the back here on the driver's side are the two that we're going to pay a little bit closer attention to. Let me grab the scope now and let's see what everything looks like with the fluid out of the cylinders.
For the most part, everything looked really good on every cylinder. I didn't see any major corrosion buildup on the walls or anything really concerning. We're good to start dumping some cleaner in this engine and start ordering some service parts so we can try and turn it over by hand.
As much as not having a set of keys for this car is a bit of a nuisance, it's a little bit of a positive because it meant nobody at the auction was able to start this car up, and it's obvious that nobody tried to start this car after it was flooded. You saw that water come out clear as day and then the oil follow. It didn't mix together, so we are good on that. And the top end of the engine with the scope camera looks pretty darn decent too. It looks like the oil that mixed with the salt water there was able to stop any sort of corrosion from building up in the top end. But now that everything's out of the engine and there was a good bit of salt water in there, we don't want any corrosion forming. So what I did is I ran out, I grabbed 5 gallons of diesel, which is a very good detergent, and I poured 4 of those 5 gallons into the crankcase. What that should do is it should surround all the metal components that were previously surrounded with salt water and again stop any corrosion from forming. Just for the time being. Obviously, we have a pretty decent oil pan leak. That pan's got to come off and we got to get a closer inspection of the bottom end of this engine. We will do that, but first I want to get to the no key situation to see how good or bad the electronics are in this car. Now that this is home, I spent a little bit of time just going through the interior front and back to try and find any signs of any water damage or any sort of flooded modules or anything like that. And I gotta tell you, for a flood car, I don't see anything, at least anything obvious. Usually with water comes some sand, dirt, and stuff like that. And so these cars, again, they smell bad and you'll find all sorts of sand everywhere like we did with our Dodge Viper. Unless someone at the auction cleaned this thoroughly. And we just did a complete auction lot tour of all the flooded cars. And while they were clean, there was still dirt and grime everywhere that the floodwaters touched. I mean, there's none of that here. The door panels are as clean as could be, and our water line is, well, obviously above the door panel. It's about 1/3 of the way up the door. Either someone cleaned this car immediately after it got water in the interior, or the water never actually made its way in the interior, because I swear I cannot find anything, which is obviously a huge bonus. Now, it didn't come with a battery, so I don't really know if any of the electronics work, but also the ignition really needs to be turned on to test anything. To tackle the no keys problem, I think the simplest solution here is to just replace the ignition barrel. It's a $30 part. Just turning the ignition should get our interior electronics on. Then we'll have to figure out how to defeat the anti-theft system, which is an old, antiquated system that operates off of a few resistors. I'm not super familiar with this system. It's called the VATS, the Vehicle Anti-Theft System. If you guys know more about it and you think I'm on the right path, let me know in the comments. Or if you think there's a easier or better solution, let me know again in the comments. But for right now, I already got this ignition barrel because it was 30 bucks. Let's go ahead, throw it in, and see if we can't get some power to this Corvette. All right, I went and I already undid the screws that hold the airbag in here. And it's real windy outside, so the door wants to keep closing. That's my only source of ventilation. And these door locks are super sticky, so when they start to get push closed, I get a little freaked out here. I just need a few tools, and we should be able to pop this thing out relatively quick, swap out our ignition. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I told you I spent 40 bucks between the new ignition and the resistors, but I did have to buy this steering wheel plate tool to remove this ring. That was another $15. So for this job, we'll be in at about 55 bucks. And just a few swear words, because this ring is a pain in the neck to get out. You know, the old saying is that they don't make them like they used to, and I gotta tell you, on this car, this has been the most complicated steering wheel and clock spring and everything removal. I mean, you can see some of it's still stuck in place here, but everything is like so robust. I'm so surprised no plastic has disintegrated on me. I'm so used to the European cars where they use such cheap plastics, and everything's still here. And this should be a screw that once it's out, let's see here, it pulls this whole ignition cylinder out. Oh, there it is. See the back of the ignition here? This needs to kind of mate into the column here, otherwise it won't turn whatever it turns in order to turn the whole gauge cluster on. Right there. Okay. All right, there's our ignition. Now we'll put in the key that it came with, however that works. Oh, there we go, look. Hey, we even got 2 sets of keys. So here it is. And then I guess to turn it out, you have to press that button there. When we turn it, you could see something move inside here. Now, obviously, we're not interested in starting the car at this point until we kind of get the engine sorted. However, the engine wouldn't start because our security system would not be defeated. There's no chip in this key. We'll figure all that out later. For right now, I want to get a battery under the hood. I want to see if we can't get an odometer reading on our Corvette. So we spent $50 on our ignition system so far. This battery right here at the store was in the value aisle, and it was 60 bucks. I'm already hearing something happen when I connect this negative lead. Let's see here. I'm trying to tighten it. Is our positive lead on too? Look at that. You hear that? Those are the headlight motors spinning. Hold on. I'm tightening the negative terminal right now. Look at that. Wow. The lights are on. We should have power. Let me just go and make sure this is pretty good. This is huge. What are you guys guessing? We got 250,000 miles, or we got 25,000 miles, or we got 2,500 miles. Oh, look at that. Our hazards are on because we pulled the hazard light switch out of the column here. Here we go.